Right now, one of the highlights for this symposium is the score for the top seven biggest data collectors here in Uganda. And I'm going to invite our head legal and programs director, Mr. Alan Sempala Chigosi. Looks like the India approves with smile, so hold on, I might just have the watching. So I have to say that for Alan, Alan has also been very instrumental behind the scenes, making sure all of this was out was right. Alan.
Unfettered abuse of user data. Through this scorecard, we hope to galvanize widespread changes in the policies of private and public sector to ensure that citizens' digital lives are not subject to manipulation, hence safeguarding human rights and dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, only publicly available policy positions qualified for credit in this scorecard. Privacy positions, practices or policies that are conveyed privately or internal corporate standards, regardless of how laudable these were not factored into our decisions to award organizations or companies credits in any category. Requiring public documents serves several purposes. First, to ensure that companies cannot secretively change an internal practice in the future to hoodwink customers, but most importantly, change their public enforcement policies, which can be noted and documented. Secondly, by asking companies to put their privacy policy practices in writing, we examine each policy closely and prompt a larger public conversation about what standards these organizations should strive for. Thirdly, it helps organizations review one another's policies around law enforcement, access, which can serve as a guide for startups and others looking for examples of organizations standing up for users' privacy. In this scorecard, ladies and gentlemen, we strive to offer ambitious but practical standards. To that end, we only included criteria that can at least one organization at least has adopted it. This ensures that we are highlighting existing and achievable best practices rather than theoretical policies. So each year, we will ensure that we review the criteria and use it as used in 5 years and make any adjustments that may be necessary to ensure that scorecard is keeping pace with modern technology, policy, and training. We intend to analyze the scorecard in 5 different areas. The first area is, do you comply with privacy best practices? In this case, do you have an accessible and noticeable privacy policy? In this criterion, the company or agency must have a published, noticeable, accessible, and comprehensive privacy policy. This helps users in making informed decisions. To access the privacy and human rights, to assess the privacy and human rights risks they face when using particular services. So therefore, companies must fulfill this criterion in order to earn a credit. Section 3 specifically provides for principles of data collection. But section 3.1f specifically is to the effect that any data collector, processor, or controller shall ensure transparency, participation of a data subject in collection of their data. And one way we think that you can help a data subject participate in the collection of their data is by having that accessible, noticeable, and comprehensive privacy policy. If you have nothing to hide, your privacy policy ought to be accessible on all your interfaces in which you use to access their personal data. The second area, ladies and gentlemen, is in giving information to data subjects before collecting that data. Now, this information includes their rights, but also information such as which company you are. You can also mention details of who your DPO is. On Monday this week, we had data protection training for DPOs, and we had a full house. So it's very essential for companies that are collecting this data to mention their DPOs. Secondly, why your company or agency will be using this personal data, especially the purpose. Why are you collecting it? The nature and category of personal data being collected. We've seen companies that ask you for one, for instance, your name, your phone number, and you get onto their platform. But when you get onto their platform, they collect more data. Okay, so it's very important that when you're collecting this data, you be open and clear on how much data of that person you're collecting, the legal justification for processing their data, for how long you will be keeping that data, and who else you will be sharing this data with. And lastly, that that they have the right to access their data, to raise, to ask for information, basically. Part 5 of the Act provides for the right that you are supposed to be offering. So the information may be provided in writing, orally, or at the time of request from that individual. The other area, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to mention third parties. When collecting this data, you ought to let the person know, the data subject, which other person is going to receive that information in the process of processing that data. So to earn a credit, an organization must have a public policy that ensures that data is not unlawfully disclosed to third parties as prohibited by Section 35 of the DPPA Act 2019. They should be clear on how they handle user information so that it is easy to assess the privacy, security, and human rights of using their services. So organizations tend not to sufficiently disclose what user information they share with whom. This has potential for harm to individuals and to vulnerable communities. Failure to be open with who personal data is shared with constitutes a betrayal of users' trust and lack of respect of human rights. The fourth area, ladies and gentlemen, is practice of robust data security. To earn a credit in this category, organizations ought to show publicly commitment to implement data security measures pursuant to Section 20 of the DPPA 2019. A data collector is expected to take all steps to safeguard against unauthorized or accidental access, processing, or erasure through alteration, disclosure, or destruction of personal data. The other and the last area, for purposes of time, is accountability. How much requests did you receive during the year? You ought to be accountable and therefore be transparent. You have to share with data subjects who requested for their information. Was it government? Was it law enforcement? It is part of government. So Section 3A and F of the Data Protection Act provides for transparency and being accountable. So ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth. These are the complete findings. The findings were in 3 parts. The first part, we assessed 32 companies in how they comply with the Data Protection Act in Uganda. In the second part, we benchmarked. Some of these companies operate outside Uganda. They operate in other African countries. If they are complying, are they complying elsewhere? If they're not complying, are they complying there? Why is there inconsistency? The third part, we assess the most used apps in Uganda. And in this part, we also analyze the platforms some of these 32 companies actually use to collect this data, their apps and websites. In the first part, ladies and gentlemen, the key findings described here are based on the scorecard that we compiled a couple of months. The results show the extent to which different industrial and business sectors are complying with data protection as well as the principles. So the score has varied considerably across sectors, even within categories. It gives details of what these companies, organizations are doing or not doing to protect their. Are we okay? I can proceed.
Seven, we are fine.
Awesome. To protect their users from potentially invasive access to their personal data. So 35% was the average performance score across all sectors evaluated. 66% was the highest performing assessed criteria. 80% was the highest score obtained across all evaluated areas and sectors. So we have a summary of how each sector performs in the practice of robust data security. Companies that fall under social security, and in this sector, we only have NSSF. We only assess NSSF. Companies that fall under social security perform very well, 100%. Telecoms also have good data security. All their platforms, at least they are ranked high. Government performed at 75%, impressively well. E-commerce, 57%, finance, 60%, insurance, 57%, and health, 0%. Many of their websites were weak in terms of security. So the general performance in terms of that area, practice of robust security, was 52%. In the area of compliance with best privacy practices, in this area, we were assessing whether you have a privacy policy, like I mentioned, that is accessible and noticeable, comprehensive, and can be clear to a data subject. So social security again performed very well at 100%. E-commerce, where we have Jumia, where we have Self-Border, we have Bold and Global, they performed at 83%. They have privacy policies that at least at the front of the website and on their apps they use to give these services. Finance at 80%, telecoms at 50%, insurance at 43%, government at 25%. Many government agencies don't give information to the data subjects, so we just collect. Health again performed at 0%. Many of the health services platforms were not giving, didn't have privacy policies. Now, we didn't give a credit here, not necessarily that they entirely didn't have a privacy policy. Many of them, they had one, but it was hidden, so you had to search. No, for a data subject who is naive and they want to use the service, they don't have the time and the patience to type in privacy policy to look for it. So they ought to put it at the forefront for it to be accessible and noticeable. So to that end, they got a 0. And the general performance there was 40%. Then the other third area was, do you give information to data subjects? In this area, social security performed at 100%, e-commerce 67%, finance 40%, insurance 14%, telecom 25%, government 0%, health 0% as well. The other area was, you mentioned third parties with whom we share information. Social security performed at 100%, e-commerce 33%, government 25% in that area, insurance, finance, telecoms, and health 0%. And lastly, are you accountable? You give us information to ask our information for you. Who did you give information to? All of them was 0%. That is insurance, e-commerce, government, telecoms, health, and social security. So a very low scorecard performance of 35% is evident, a clear indication that most organizations are struggling with data protection compliance. The highest compliance is observed for practice of robust data security, as well as complying with the industry best practices. So e-commerce, financial sector, and telecom services registered high compliance levels. Government and insurance are also cited for practicing good security on all their platforms. So just over half of the companies evaluated practiced good robust data security, as evidenced with a good SSL server test result of A+, A, or B, and having essential security headers. So, however, in some cases, this is normally compromised with the existence of trackers. So some of them had good security, good grades as high as A+, but they had trackers in there. Okay, so you know what tracker. I will be explaining what trackers do. So a sizable number of companies have no SSL certificate, report poor SSL server tests, result with no essential security headers, making them highly vulnerable to attack. A good number of organizations assessed have trackers on their website sending data to companies involved in online marketing and advertising, namely Facebook and Alphabet. Facebook has now changed to Meta, but Meta and Alphabet, or call it Google. So common themes for data privacy best practice being a notable accessible privacy policy at the footer of the company or organization's website, which discloses the rights of the data subject. However, this is not consistent across all companies. In a few instances, we see the existence of privacy policy, but it may not be accessible, like I mentioned. So this incompleteness of information may be interpreted as a lack of respect for rights of data subjects and limits control of the data subject over his personal data once it is transferred. So the most abused three criteria, those with least score across all categories of programs, include giving information to data subjects before collecting the data, mentioning third parties with whom that data might be shared with, and disclosure of how much data is provided to third parties and government agencies. So social security and companies within retailing or e-commerce sectors uphold the highest data protection standards. Financial and telecoms have data protection practices through the scale of practice, as seen above. The government agencies and insurance companies are on the tipping edge of vulnerability, while health facilities exhibit worse levels of vulnerability in compliance with data protection standards. Now, a benchmark across other African countries where some of the assessed companies operate, we realize that some companies are performing very well on those companies, like I will show in the coming slide. We find that a company is in Uganda, which has a privacy, it doesn't have a privacy policy, but in Nigeria, it does have a privacy policy that mentions all the rights, and in Uganda, they don't mention any rights. So our question was, why the inconsistency? Why aren't you being consistent in your practices? Only one company that had consistency. Okay, the other two were Jumia and Chiku, but their consistency was in a way that their privacy policies were so ambiguous. They didn't mention rights. They were so limited. They had small characters. And Chiku and Jumia almost have the same privacy policy word for word. Despite the fact that in their applications, you realize they have different trackers and different third parties they give information to. So in the common most apps used in Uganda, it was common to find trackers in all apps assessed. Trackers are defined, I promise to define trackers. Trackers are defined as a piece of software, for those who don't understand what trackers are, that are meant to collect data about you or your usages. The trackers are known to present different levels of privacy intrusion, ranging from crash reporting, analytics, virtual profiling, digital identity, targeted advertising, and geographical location of mobile devices. So the general performance of insurance companies, before I jump into the tech analysis, let me first give how each company performed here. In e-commerce, the scorecard gave Border 60%, Jumia 60%. That is at the level of complying with the Data Protection Act. 60% for Jumia, Chiku Online 60%, Maskini 40%, Chiku 60%, Glovo 20%. So the report gives e-commerce a perfect rating of 50% generally. E-commerce companies performed best on compliance with privacy-based practices and had relatively good scores for a robust data security and providing info to data subjects, and lowest for government data requests with 5 out of 6 ratings for compliance. A range of companies such as Border, Jumia, Chiku Online, and Chiku performed relatively better here. Glovo and Maskini recorded lower performances. In the area of social security, we mentioned that We only assessed NSSF, and NSSF performed at a good rating of 80%. So the report gives it 80%. So NSSF performed exceptionally well, and all metrics except for accountability, where all companies got 0%. For financial services, Stanbic Bank got 40%, Stanchart got 60%, Centenary Bank 0%, ABSA, former Barclays Bank, got 60%, and DFCU 20%. The report gives financial services a rate of 36%. Financial services performed best in compliance with best industry practices. They had accessible and noticeable privacy policies, and relatively better on robust data security, and poorest on third-party mentoring, as well as data accountability. So telecoms, in this sector, we assess MTN, Airtel, UTL, and Africell. We assess Africell before they closed. So MTN performed at 20%. As you noticed earlier, later on, rather, MTN performed 20% because it has a lot of inconsistency. As you see in the report, in Nigeria and South Africa, MTN has a robust privacy policy. It gives up to 7 rights to data subjects. And in Uganda, it only gives 2. And then the privacy policy is not as accessible and not stable. Airtel got 40%, UTL 20%, and of course, Africa 40%. In insurance, the report gives insurance services below average, a rating of 23% in its privacy scorecard report, which rates companies on their efforts to secure consumer data against government and third parties. So many of the companies that we assess on this area of accountability, they perform really, really bad. So Sanlam Insurance in this category got 40%, 0% for Sanlam, UAP Old Mutual got 40%, I beg your pardon. Sanlam 0%, Vitam 40%, Gold Star Insurance 20%, Jubilee Insurance 0%, Pico 20%, ICA 40%. So the general performance is 23%. Government agencies, URA 0%, NIRA 20%, Ministry of Works, the arm that collects information as far as driving permits are concerned, performed at 40%. Directorate of Citizenship got 20%. So the report gives government agencies in this area 25%. Hospitals. Now, hospitals, like I mentioned earlier, they perform really bad. They got 0% throughout. They got 0% throughout. Now, on benchmarking some of these companies, 8 of them, on how they perform in other economies, we wanted to find out why exactly are these inconsistencies. Because as you will see in the report, there are inconsistencies in how these companies operate in other jurisdictions. So we try to use the NCSI index. The NCSI index is a cybersecurity index that measures different things. And one of the things it measures is data protection. Now it gives scores from 0 to 4. So it measures different countries in two areas. Do you have a data protection legislation? Do you have an independent data protection authority? Because we wanted to find out why exactly some companies are performing well in those countries outside and they're performing really poorly here. So when you go to that NCSI website, you will see how Uganda is ranked. But these findings at the NCSI index are not as updated. Like we have a data protection office that has not been updated in the NCSI index. So I think after updating that, we'll perform a bit high. Because in this rating, by the time we visit the website, it gives Uganda 1. Uganda performs at 1. Benin at 4, Nigeria at 4, South Africa at 4 as well. So using the NCSI index, we observe that countries with data protection legislation and independent data protection authorities register more compliance from companies that operate from there. So these countries include South Africa, Nigeria, and the companies with weaker protection laws such as Zambia, Namibia, Malawi have companies exposing without privacy policies, rather. So Uganda ranked 7 out of the 12 countries that were assessed. And like I've mentioned, we ranked 7 because information in there has not been updated. So we shouldn't put so much focus on this index. It's not the reason why the report is there. We use the index to find out why a company is so inconsistent with these different countries. So countries with good legislations, of course, had proper countries giving rights to individuals. The first company we assessed is Stanbic Bank. Stanbic Bank privacy policy is inconsistent across Africa. An analysis of the policy shows that the length of their privacy policies varies from one country to another. Evidently, the longer the policy, the more robust and representative it is. Countries that have a more robust policy also have full content in respect of rights. In South Africa, Mauritius, Nigeria are examples. In Uganda, the document depicts only 4 out of 7 rights. Okay, so for instance, the privacy policy of Stanbic Bank in South Africa has 6,097 characters. Those are words. And the privacy policy of Stanbic Bank in Uganda, it is 1,358. The privacy policy of Stanbic Bank in Botswana is 712. And in Zambia, Stanbic Bank has no privacy policy. So you see the inconsistency. In South Africa, it is 6,000. In Uganda, 1,000. Other countries such as Botswana, 700. And in Zambia, they don't have. So in countries with a lengthy privacy policy, they have 7 rights. They make mention of 7 rights. In Uganda, 4 rights. In Angola, where they have a privacy policy of 1,000 words, they only mention 1 right. You see the inconsistency. So the other company was Old Mutual or UAP Insurance. Old Mutual in Nigeria has a privacy policy that is as long as 3,728 words. And in Uganda, 1,612 words. And in Uganda, the privacy policy of Old Mutual or UAP Insurance doesn't mention of any right. Yet in Nigeria and Kenya, they mention 7 rights and 5 rights respectively. The other company is MTN. MTN is equally selective. Their privacy policy is also inconsistent. In South Africa, they have a privacy policy that is as long as 300 and 700 words. In Uganda, their privacy policy is 978 words. In Uganda, they only mention 2 rights. In South Africa, they only mention 6 rights. So members, you see the inconsistencies in these companies. All you want to show these companies is that, look, privacy matters in Uganda just as it matters in Nigeria and South Africa, where their privacy policies are robust and more comprehensive. The other interesting company that we analyzed is Airtel Uganda, or Airtel generally. Airtel in Nigeria has a privacy policy of 5,269 words, lengthy, comprehensive. And in Uganda, it has a privacy policy of 573 words. Now, the one of Nigeria mentions whooping 7 rights. And in Uganda, they don't mention any rights. Any. The only country that they mention rights is India, where they originate from. In other countries where they operate in Africa, they don't mention any rights. Okay, so we demand better. If other countries need to know their rights, Ugandans too. You have to know their rights as far as the information is concerned. So we also had a look at the messaging platforms or apps that Ugandans use even in Africa, like Snapchat and TikTok. So Snapchat has a privacy policy for all countries, all across, and they try to mention rights, be it in Brazil, Europe, or in America, or even in the Americas, in Mexico. They try to mention, at least the least they can mention is 5 rights, Snapchat. TikTok has 3 different privacy policies that apply to USA, Europe, Switzerland, and other regions. Now, other regions, that's what Africa falls. So it has country-specific terms about user rights for Philippines, Mexico, Turkey, South Korea, and Indonesia. So also TikTok is inconsistent in a way. Now, this is the interesting or the good news about the benchmarking. Safe Border. Safe Border presents one of the best privacy policies. It's consistent in all countries they operate. In all countries, in the countries that they operate is Uganda, Kenya, and Nigeria. Safe Border, I think this doesn't come as an accident. Safe Border is one of those companies, actually it's the only company. Sometime a while ago, we assessed Safe Border's use of personal data. So we released a report, and it was showing that Safe Border, in a way, is not open, is not transparent in how they collect and use people's personal data. They are not showing their privacy policy. You couldn't get it, at least when you access their platform. Yeah, they couldn't mention any rights. We wrote a report on Safe Border, and eventually we petitioned Ben Nita and asked them to put a light on Safe Border's operations. We realized that that report, when it came out, found out that Safe Border truthfully, it had some inconsistencies and some irregularities. They made amends, and right now Safe Border has the best privacy policy. I don't think there is any organization in Uganda that has a most comprehensive, consistent privacy policy such as Safe Border. So you can also clap for them. That's an achievement. You can clap for them, it's an achievement. And we hope that after this report, many organizations can borrow a lead and try to improve their practices thereafter. So members, for benefit of time, I request that more details can be gotten from our report. The report goes on and on. It's a 96 pages report. We have a tech analysis in there where we reveal which organization actually shares information with online advertisers. Many of the organizations we assessed, the 32 companies, all of them share information, personal information with online advertisers. They have trackers, which they don't mention in their third parties. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on now, we can do a little bit better than that. Thank you so much. Should I call you director again? I think after that presentation, the man is befitting of the title, and I'll ask the ED to make considerations indeed. But what a wonderful report. And like Alan has said, that will be made available. I was not too happy. I was hearing many zeros. Help, what, hey, I don't know. But I guess there is hope, and this is just the beginning. In the interest of time, very quickly, I'm just going to invite our ED. I'll ask maybe the DJ this time just to give us a music interlude if that is possible. As the ED comes, she's just going to make some brief remarks, ED, and she will also in turn invite the Director of Personal Data Protection, Office of Uganda, Madam Stella, who is here with us. So Dorothy, over to you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister, Honorable Kabyanga, the National Director, Personal Data Protection, Mr. Stella Adibatese, the representative from the regulator, UCC, Mr. Waito, our partner present here today, Daniel Odom, representing the Digital Human Rights Lab. Ladies and gentlemen in the room in your different capacities, not forgetting everybody who is logged in, the online audience, you're most welcome and thank you. It has been a 3-day marathon, very engaging, learning, networking, and also a lot of fun, you know, as we conclude the privacy symposium 2021. We are so happy to have everybody, those that have been online and the team that is with us today physically. We can't say thank you enough to our engaging panelists who have shared their immense knowledge on the subject of data protection and privacy. Our technical team, our partners, the ministry, the office, Person Data Protection Office, the Omadia Network, Privacy International, NISAU, and everybody that has supported this symposium. The technical team, we are so happy to have everybody, and I want to say thank you. My task today is just to thank everybody that has been part of this, and I pray that the conversations continue. We need to shape the practice and policy of data protection, because data protection and privacy is who we are. It identifies us, and it's our safety and our lives as well. So I want to say thank you and pray that we continue engaging, and until we get to next year's, the 4th Privacy Symposium Africa, which will be happening next year. And please, let's keep the conversations in our different spaces. Let's engage the office now that you have the Person Data Protection Office, so that we improve our practices and policies as a country. In the interest of time, I would like to invite Madame Stella Alibatese, who is the Director, Personal Data Protection Office, Uganda. Thank you so much. Good evening, participants. ED Unwanted Witness, thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Minister, the ED Unwanted Witness, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our participants online, I thank you for attending the 3rd Privacy Symposium. Over this whole week, we have discussed a lot of things related to privacy, and most important, about personal data protection. The 3rd Privacy Symposium has shown how the collaboration between government and civil society can work together to ensure we create the much needed awareness on personal data protection and privacy matters, and also raise the need for compliance for those collecting, processing, holding, and using personal data. The discussions we have held over the week are important and must continue. Between these difficult discussions, Honorable Minister, we've also had some joy, a lot of African dance and song. If you agree, say yes. Because virtually, physically, we've been given a lot of what our culture is about. And I know, being the State Minister for National Guidance, these issues are important for you. So I thought I needed to highlight that. Today, the program is light, and I will not say much, but allow me to thank Unwanted Witness and its partners for this 3rd Privacy Symposium. Allow me also to thank the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, who have supported this program in creating awareness, in providing training. Honorable Minister, on Monday, we started this week by training about 60 data protection officers. And we know these officers are going to be champions of data protection and privacy within their organizations. These are people the office will work with to ensure that they develop privacy frameworks within their organizations, and hopefully spread the word on the need to comply with the Act. With those few remarks, Honorable Minister, it's my pleasure to invite you to speak to us. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to introduce the Honorable Minister, Godfrey Kabyanga Kaluku. He's the Minister of State for National Guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Stella. The National Director, Data Protection Unit, the Executive Director, Unwanted Witness, all government representatives who are here, representatives of our development community, representatives from civil society, representatives from the academia, representatives from the media fraternity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Madam Stella has actually made me remember I'm the Minister of State for National Guidance. And indeed, I would like to appreciate the cultural team which has entertained us. But also, allow to make an observation. When we started, the master of ceremonies failed to sing the national anthem. Because he continued waiting for the DJ to bring the instrumental. Next time, just sing it. That's what I'm promoting now. Actually, I think I should even pass a law that no more instrumentals when we are singing the national anthem. Because he says, let us sing the national anthem, and we all stand and wait for the DJ. So let us sing it as it is so that we understand the words. And that's what we are promoting now as national guidance. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring greetings from my senior minister, the Honorable Dr. Chris Rayumusi, and also his apologies because he was supposed to be here to officiate at this function. He's a very tall man and a giant, and I'm his opposite. But I always fit him very well. So don't look at my height. First and foremost, I wish to thank the unwanted witness and partners for being actively involved in raising awareness about data privacy through establishing a critical knowledge sharing platform codenamed Privacy Symposium Africa. The right to privacy is an internationally recognized right. Both the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights require states to protect individuals from interference with their privacy. Assuring data protection is proving day by day as an increasingly essential prerequisite for democracy to work and fundamental rights and freedoms to be made real. In line with this, Government of Uganda enacted the Data Protection and Privacy Act 2019, which was enacted to protect the privacy of individual and of personal data by regulating collection and protection of personal information, to provide for the rights of the persons whose data is collected and obligations of data collectors, data processors, and data controllers, to regulate the use or disclosure of personal information and for related matters. The Act under Section 4 establishes the Personal Data Protection Office under National Information Technology Authority Uganda, mandated to, among others, oversee the implementation and enforcement of the Act, receive and investigate complaints from data protection and Privacy Register. At this point, I would like to thank Madam Sarah for partnering with Unwanted Witness to organize this symposium. You are doing our work, and I applaud you for that. The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance has now finalized the draft data protection and privacy regulations following the enactment of the law 2019. While several African countries have adopted data protection frameworks, cross-border flow of personal data calls for intra-African cooperation to enforce data protection legislation. This is necessary to protect personal data transfer across borders to ensure that African citizens can assert their rights when personal data travel across borders. I'm happy that today Unwanted Witness is launching this scorecard. I think it will further help in monitoring and evaluating the efficiency and transparency in data protection. So thank you very much for this scorecard, and I think we shall look at it very well and see how it can assist us as government. Once again, I take this opportunity to thank Unwanted Witness for organizing the Privacy Symposium Africa 2021 in Uganda. I say all this for God and my country.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, if we could indulge you just a little more. I would now like to officially launch. And so that you don't do this alone, I'm going to invite Madame Dorothy and Madame Stella to join you. And also for my own sake, just to say I was a man under authority. I can even sing the national anthem right now. So ladies and gentlemen, all cameras, this is our launch, where we're going to do the launch from. And I don't know if there's anyone to guide us. Just to advise you, there might be some fireworks. Please don't think this is Digida or anything like that. So I just thought I should let you know in time so you're not spooked. But perhaps we'll just do a countdown. And if I'm not mistaken, we shall launch this by simply drawing the curtain and revealing what is behind it. And so I'll ask the Honorable Minister to take his position together with his backup, and we shall count down together from 10, just to build up that momentum. Okay. You know, it is data protection, but they want to protect the minister's face from NSPACs as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you just join me? Let's just count down together. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Aya, this is wonderful. There we go. Madam Edie says, first finish your fire, then we shall safety first. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, the Privacy Scorecard Report, November 2021. If you must collect it, you must protect it. Privacy Scorecard officially launched. A round of applause, and I'll ask the band just to give us, in a short while, you're going to give us a quick break. But while the minister is here, we have some plaques that we would like to give some of our sponsors. And I'll ask the band just to give us background music as we do that. I'll ask the ladies with the plaques to please bring them. And the first plaque is going to be going to the Minister of ICT. If we have any representation here, we'll request that you come forward and receive your plaque from the Minister. Minister of ICT, do we have any representation here? All right. I'll request that you bring those plaques here so that we can hand them over. Well, Personal Data Protection Office, I'm sure it can be handed over. Personal Data Protection Office, if you can bring the plaque, this is to say thank you. Thank you so much. I think we'll get a representative from ICT coming later. The next one is for Personal Data Protection Office. The minister has received that one. All right. And for Personal Data Protection Office, I think Madam Stella will receive that one. Thank you so much for all the input and hard work that you've done. Digital Human Rights Lab, if we have a representative here, please come and pick your plaque. Also saying thank you very much. Mwevale nyo afoyo matek, mwevale mnonga. We'll just announce the rest. They might not be here in person. We have Privacy International. We might not have a representative here today, but we want to say thank you very much. Katende Sepewa and Company Advocates, thank you so much. Last but not least, we have Media Network. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to invite the band to take over, and we'll allow for the minister, our EDA, Madame Dorothy and Madame Stella, to take your seats. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for coming, for attending. Day 2 will be available if you would like to thank you so much.
Uganda, oh yeah! Uganda, oh yeah! Otili. Papa e giocanera, e con ego che è unica, che è unica sere. Giocanera, e con ego che è un mare, e un marole. Sama kunde kenengeda, zekanaba. Mananga kani wajara kanaba, sama kunde kenengeda, kanaba. Mananga kani wajara kanaba, ngemukuwe galo nengeda. wajala kangamba bambi mukube ngoma nengenda kangamba olaba nyikali wajala kangamba benda bakube ngalo nagenda mananga kayo nyikali wajala kangamba sama kondege nengenda kangamba kayo nyikali wajala kangamba mungere ngoma nengenda kangamba kayo nyikali wajala kangamba sama kondege nengenda kangamba sama kondege kangamba sama samba yi sama kondege bana banange musambendege sama samba yi sama samba bana bachikama musambendege yi sama samba sama kondege wange sama samba yi sama kondege bana bachikama musambendege yi sama samba kangamba sama kondege nene kazira mu musambendege nyikali wajala kangamba sama kondege nengenda nyikali wajala kangamba sama kondege nengenda kengana wabanga kameke njovu basajja bananga kameke njovu yi mama kameke njovu bana bananga kameke njovu kube ngoma nyimba kameke njovu mukube ngalo nyimba kameke njovu aliwa munango moyangaire yi mama kameke njovu yi mama kameke njovu kube ngalo nyimba kameke njovu yi mama kameke njovu kabira wa mwana moyangaire aliwa no munange kwenali kunye awanya munanga kameke njovu mukube ngalo nyimba kameke njovu yi mama kameke njovu nzokufaanana taata saza musango bwetunulire enviiri nebweyali bwerengera ekifuba nebweyali bwetunulira amaaso nebweyali owange munange akameke njovu ono kufaanana nnyina teyeza musango ali tunulire enviiri nebweyali bwerengera ennyindo nebweyali aliwaama mumwegalire yi mama akameke njovu engana wabanga akameke njovu yi mama akameke njovu Babita na mo maringa pipi sawa tubebere. Pipi sawa tubebere. Pipi sawa tubebere. Abana bembuga muchakale. Abana bembuga mudigide. Aberu ndabo kubengalo. Olo maindire byensonga. Neyaziza mukoma wange. Neyaziza mikwano gyange. Pipi sawa tubebere. Pipi sawa tubebere. Pipi sawa tubebere. Twayanziza twayanzeke. Silika ngoma tuchakale. Silika sema tuli. Silika ngoma tuli. Silika sema tulikide. Neyaziza mikono gyange. Sama bundaga tulikide. Neyaziza neyanze. Namumbaliga. Uwange wange. Namumbaliga. Wange wange. Namumbaliga. Abanga wange. Twayanziza mikono gyange. Twayanziza twayanzeke. Silika ngoma tulikide. Neyaziza neyanzeke. Abanga wange. Uwange wange. Abanga wange. Uwange wange. Abanga wange. Twayanziza twayanzeke. Uwange wange. Ona bana bachika kote. Abanga wange.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming. You're free to laugh as I welcome you all